Alright, we're live. Hey, my name is Malcolm Saunders here from Light Cellar. My special guest today is...
Madeline MacKinnon.
Yeah, we're live on Instagram, live on Facebook. And if you're watching the recording, awesome, thanks for joining us. We're going to dive into a discussion around nutrition for your cycle. Now, this is an area that Madeline MacKinnon is an absolute expert in, and it's an area, although I know I'm not a guy, I know for sure definitely is a real issue for a lot of women out there. I mean, I have a daughter, she's 15, and wife, obviously, that's been through all this, and really happy to have Madeline on and to, dive into some of this knowledge that should be, essential. Every woman should have this. Knowledge. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, and thank you as a man for being open to talk about this stuff as well, because I don't know if I've really done a live with a man about this.
All right, I feel honored. Honored. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you're on either platform, even the recording afterwards, post your comments, your questions. Madeline will get to those. We'll get you that insight for you, for your daughter, for whoever needs this information. Give us a like, give it a share, because this is absolutely valuable and essential. I think we're living in a day and age. Maybe you have statistics around this, but just from my perception, from an outside perspective, this is something that women struggle with, right? Month after month, painful periods. Even I've heard, the words, the endometriosis. It's very common, isn't it?
Yeah, this is something so many women experience, and one really crazy thing is that having a painful period and having PMS every month actually may be common, but it's not normal. And when I learned this for the first time, I was really shocked because I just thought that was the way that it was supposed to be for women. And I've talked to so many women that were just told, I'm unlucky, I have bad cramps, and I'm just gonna have to, experience this pretty much my whole menstruating life. And it's actually not true. And I'm curious if anybody is shocked by this, but it's actually usually your period symptoms are a sign that something is going on in the body. And once you can address that root cause, it can be something that you can correct. So that's what I do. I'm a nutritionist, and I work with women to have really healthy, balanced menstrual cycles. I specifically work with women who have a lot of period pain, like debilitating period pain, where you're having to stay home from work, you have to take painkillers even though you really don't want to. You want to live more of a natural lifestyle, and I help a woman really uncover the root and use nutrition and natural methods to get to a point of limiting or having a pain-free period.
Totally. I mean, we got some comments right here.
Hey, Haley.
Yeah, she says, Madeline has helped me tenfold. So absolutely, if you're watching this or you know someone that's suffering, there's absolutely relief that can happen through diet, through nutrition, and lifestyle practices. So we wanted to hop on here, and there's another comment. Very cool to have a guy on. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to create this space through my platform, and Madeline's on with her platform, just to kind of cover off some of this groundwork of level of understanding to help you on this journey towards pain-free periods and relieving some of those symptoms that, like you say, is people just expect, this is what I get every month. And so let's dive right into it. And of course, as we're having this conversation, please post any comments, any questions down below, and Madeline will be happy to answer those.
Yeah, and if you do want to learn more, we can tell you more about this later, but if you're in Calgary, I'm teaching a class at the Light Cellar next Saturday on the 28th, all about this. So if you want to learn more, you can come to the class. But I want to give you some value today so you can start learning some things that you can really start doing right away to help support your cycle.
Cool. Fun fact, I've known Madeline for 9 years?
Yeah, 9 or 10 years.
Yeah. So she was the third staff member here at Light Cellar.
Yeah, 9 years ago.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it's been wonderful to watch her journey. Just, she had already been into nutrition, studying nutrition, and I think it's really fantastic that she's dove into this niche, such a specialized knowledge and topic of women's health, and in particular periods. So that's why I'm having her on and having this conversation, and continue to open arms, host her to share her knowledge around this, whether it's in person or online like we're doing now. So let's go. Let's dive in.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I guess, the first off, all about the phases of the menstrual cycle. So one thing that you can do to help balance your cycle is, instead of trying to eat change your diet every single day of the month, try and have specific foods, one thing you can do is focus on having specific healing foods at different times within your menstrual cycle. And this is a way to actually balance out those hormones. And so I want to give you some tips, and we can go through each phase of the menstrual cycle and some things you can do like right away.
So maybe let's start with the phases. I mean, this is something that I've learned from you recently. And have you had men attend your classes at all?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay,
yeah.
Maybe it doesn't go that far, but definitely all the way from teenagers that are just getting to their menstruation to middle-aged women that maybe you're even easing out of that transition. Still super valuable knowledge. So this idea that there are phases, there are 4 phases. Let's get into that.
Yeah, there's 4 phases of your cycle, and in every single phase, your hormones start to change at every single phase in your cycle. And these hormone shifts have such a big impact. They're going to impact your mood, your energy, your sex drive, even how well you can focus, how well you can communicate even. So they have such a distinctive shift, but a lot of the time we have no idea about really what those shifts are, and then we end up feeling like, at different times of the month we feel like we're crazy, or we feel like something's off with us, but really all we need to do is just understand those 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, learn to work with them. So the first phase is the most easy one to tell. This is the menstrual phase. This is the time when you are bleeding. So during this phase, this is when a lot of women can experience really extreme symptoms of pain, symptoms of maybe a heavy menstrual flow. So this is the time when, if I could give you one tip on how to eat during this phase, is to actually have warming foods. So avoid cold foods, but actually have warm foods. Your body's going through an intense process at this time of really relieving that uterine lining, and having cold foods can constrict the uterus, causing more pain. So if you have lots of warming foods like warming teas, that can actually help to relax the uterus and prevent that pain. And this is actually something that I learned from Chinese medicine, and this actually is common knowledge. If any of you knows any Chinese women, this is something that their mothers will tell them, that's passed on, that you do not have cold food during your period, and if you have pain, really warming food is the way to go. So one thing that you can have is raspberry leaf tea is a really great thing to have. We actually have it here. So you can get it here, and raspberry leaf tea is amazing because it gives you tea, but it also helps to really relax the muscles in the uterus and help with that pain and help reduce that cramping.
So here's just a little tip. Right now could actually be a good time to harvest the raspberry leaf. So you want to get it in the beginning of the season. Obviously in spring, as that fresh new growth has come up, then obviously that plant goes through its cycle of flowering and fruiting, and you can now, after it's been through that, again, depending exactly on where in the world you live, you can harvest the leaves at the end. And the main thing with raspberry, if you're harvesting and gathering it yourself, you want to dry it right away. You don't want to use it in its wilted phase. It does have toxins when it's wilted that you wouldn't want to, at that point, throw it right into tea. So it's either fresh, like freshly picked right then and there, or completely dry, not in its wilted phase.
That's a great tip. I have a lot of raspberries in my garden in Fairmont in BC, so I will use that tip.
Yeah, totally. And maybe just real quick, here's my opportunity to contribute here.
All right.
Is when you're making a raspberry leaf tea, you want to do what's called steeping, right? Versus an infusion versus decocting. So a good amount of herb. How much do you recommend of that herb?
I usually use like half a cup for a 500 ml mason jar, but some, even a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons is fine too.
It's fine, yeah. But I do find people generally kind of underdose when it comes to herbs, because we're used to just like, the little sachet and just kind of steeping in the tea, where, as Madeline is suggesting, 1 to 3 tablespoons, even up to 4, 5, or 6. And then put that into hot water, seal it up, let it sit for a couple hours, even overnight if you can, and then it really extracts so much more of that, and you're going to get that much more benefits and therefore relief.
Yeah, if you want the period pain relief, do it that way for sure.
Cool. Okay, so warming foods. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle. We got Madeline MacKinnon, an expert in pain-free periods from Natural Hormone Healing. You can find her on Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, well, you're already connected. And if you're on Facebook, you can find her Natural Hormone Healing. And so we're wrapping up the first phase, and which was menstruation, and then we're shifting into the second.
All right. Yeah, the second phase is the follicular phase. So this happens after you bleed, before you ovulate. So this is kind of like, also all the phases really correspond to a season. So the menstrual phase is your winter, and the follicular phase is your spring. So this is a time when your estrogen will naturally start to go up to prepare to ovulate. So you'll actually see your energy start to increase naturally. It's kind of that time where you'll feel this springtime energy. You'll feel a bit more optimistic about things. And this is a really, really good time right now to have lots of really healthy, nourishing fats. That's because your follicles in your ovaries are developing. You're going to choose one egg to ovulate from. And when those follicles are healthy, when they're nourished, then you're going to have a better quality ovulation and optimal hormone production later on in your cycle. And even if you don't care about fertility, we'll talk about this way more in the class, but even if fertility is not your goal, maybe you have kids, ovulation is important, because when you ovulate, that's how you produce those peak hormones. So some foods that you can have is avocado is a really, really good food. It has lots of good nutrients, really healthy fats. Like coconut milk would be a really good thing to have. And different seeds that are great are pumpkin seeds or flax seeds. You could just blend those up, put them, I make a seed cycling fudge recipe where I'll add seeds to, you can just add them to smoothies, oatmeal. So those are some good options to start with too.
Cool, all right. Number 3.
All right, and then we go into the peak of your cycle. This is the ovulatory phase. This is your summertime. This is when you're gonna feel like the highest energy. This is when you're gonna feel just that vibrance, that radiance. You're gonna feel good at this time. There's a few women that may not feel well, and that can be from some other hormone issues, but typically you should feel good during this time. And this is the time, because your estrogen is peaking, it's actually really good to have a lot of high fiber foods to help detox and help remove that estrogen. So just like we need estrogen to make the hormones, we have to get rid of it as well, because if it doesn't get detoxed, then that can give you PMS symptoms, period symptoms later on in your cycle. So some things that you can have is like raw cabbage would be a great thing, like make a healthy coleslaw, or broccoli sprouts is an amazing food that's really rich in sulforaphane that will help with that estrogen detox. So those are 2 foods, but lots of like raw, fresh foods is really great to have at this time in your cycle.
Cool. So we're talking about the phases of the menstrual cycle with a focus of different foods and different herbs that you can consume to support you during those times. I've heard you share that lifestyle kind of choices, if you can, right? When ovulation is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of the best time if you have a big activity or it's more kind of going out.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of that energy. So they've actually done studies on women's brains in different phases, and ovulatory phase is when you have a real great communication skill. So you may even be better with like public speaking. You may have this you kind of have more this magnetic energy because you're putting out a different type of pheromone. So it actually is that time where, good to go for an interview or a first date, or ask your boss for a raise.
Right? Yeah, good things to know.
Yeah, it's not like sexual. It is and it isn't. It's just you have that more of a magnetic energy at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And people probably intuitively feel that, but just to be able to kind of, put the name to it, map out your cycle, chart it out, and just kind of know. And if you have the luxury of being able to kind of adjust your activities, conversely, when you're menstruating, right? That's the time to really kind of rest.
And I'll give you some tips in the class too that I'm teaching coming up on charting your cycle too, and like how you can actually do that and break it up so it's just a simple practice that you can do daily.
Okay, so moving on now to that fourth and final phase.
Yes, so this is your luteal phase. This is your autumn. So this happens after you ovulate and your body starts to produce progesterone. And progesterone is such an important hormone for women, for bone density, for feeling calm. It will support your GABA receptors in your brain if it's at that right level. So a lot of the time PMS symptoms come from not enough progesterone. And really supporting this with nutrition is one of the best things that you can do, because there's certain nutrients that they found through research that can actually support that progesterone. And this is going to give you a really good period experience later on. So everything we're doing at each phase is kind of going to influence later phases in the cycle too. So really my top tip is foods that are high in magnesium, like leafy greens. Try and have a serving of ideally steamed leafy greens every single day, like kale or Swiss chard has a lot of magnesium. That magnesium will really help prevent those PMS symptoms. So those are, there's a lot of different things you can do as well. And even like yams, having lots of roasted root vegetables, because a lot of women get more cravings at this time. So instead of having sugar, if you replace that with trying to have more root veggies, that will help give you those carbs without spiking your blood sugar and giving you more cravings.
Cool. All right. Well, if you just joined us, we're having an awesome conversation here with Madeline MacKinnon, founder of Natural Hormone Healing, who's become a period pain-free expert. We've had some folks hopping on, sharing their testimonials, their comments, how Madeline has really helped them. We started this conversation off talking about how most people think, painful periods are normal, having these types of problems. And though it may be common, Madeline's sharing that is not normal, and understanding the 4 phases of your cycle that we've just gone through, eating for them, adapting your activities, your exercises, you can really make tremendous improvements. Tenfold is what someone had just commented. So you can find Madeline, naturalhormonehealing.com. She's going to be teaching a workshop here at Light Cellar on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday, September 28th. I'm teaching eating for your cycle, learn how to reduce PMS, relieve period pain, and balance your hormones. So if you are a menstruating woman in that phase of your life, come to this class, because I'll teach you and also sample recipes on how to eat to support your menstrual health and your hormones.
Yeah, so we wanted to provide lots of value and insight into this topic while we're here on this live. We went through those 4 phases, and kind of maybe the final area we can touch on is what's something that someone can do, herbs, routines, is there something that works for all phases? Yeah,
definitely. I actually was going to share one of my other favorite herbs. This is called shatavari. And shatavari is an Ayurvedic herb. It is a women's herb, and shatavari actually translates as she who has 100 husbands.
All right.
So
and I think there's a finishing to that line. It's both soothing and calming.
Yeah. So I have had women in my classes tell me that they do not want 100 husbands.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. Yeah. So this one will.
Sometimes one feels like 100.
Yeah, but you can get an idea about what that's for just from that saying. But really, essentially, this one, even if there's any women in menopause listening, this herb is really great. This herb, what it's going to do is it actually works on your hypothalamus pituitary axis, which is like your master controller of all of your hormones. And what it does is it helps regulate it. It helps lower your cortisol if you have stress, and it just helps optimize your hormone production in general. So it's like a master balancer. And it's great. Like, it's really, really good for menstrual cramps, for women who have really heavy flow. So taking this daily can be very, very supportive. And really, this would be great to put in an elixir, actually, because it's really good to activate with heat and add some sort of fat. So I do actually have a YouTube video. If anyone, you can send me a direct message if you want the video, or you can search on YouTube. I have a shatavari elixir recipe that you can, and a video that you can watch to learn more about it. But this is an amazing herb, like, all around. And then also raspberry tea. It's great for the menstrual cycle, but you could even take this on a regular basis to just help support general uterine health, and it's just a great tea for women to have for general women's health.
Yeah, very tonifying.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So we can share some other resources. You got the YouTube video, so Natural Hormone Healing.
Yes.
Or Madeline MacKinnon. You can find her on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can find her on naturalhormonehealing.com.
Yeah.
Very excited to host Madeline here at Light Cellar coming up in September, Eating for Your Cycle, as well as there's a couple other workshops she's got throughout the year, Eating for Beauty, and then one about just kind of
elixirs. Yeah, elixirs for women's hormone balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been teaching that here for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like one that I keep teaching, and so go check out the Light Cellar. I'll put the link as well if anyone's listening to the replay and you're on my Instagram. I will just link at the Light Cellar classes in my bio, so you can just sign up for them. And then if anybody just is listening now and you want in, it's just send me a direct message and I'll send you that link.
Cool. So we got a couple of comments, questions.
Okay.
So why don't you field that one there?
Yes. So what was the first herb? The first herb I was talking about was raspberry leaf.
Yeah. And then depending on when you joined in, she might have been talking about savoury. So
yeah,
we did chat about those two specifically. So at the beginning, if you missed it as well, we're talking about best ways to harvest and prepare the raspberry leaf tea for most effectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Another comment here. Could you show them the color? Oh, show them closer. I thought it said color. Show them closer. Okay, absolutely. Here we go. So that is the shatavari. I hope you guys can see that right there. It's probably backwards. And then here, the raspberry leaf tea. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So Madeline will continue to kind of watch the threads, and if there's anything else, comments, questions, she will be following up with those. Just post them down below. Thanks you guys for joining us. Thank you, Madeline, for
thanks for having me.
Being our featured guest, and all the best, women, on this journey. Again, if you know someone that's having trouble with periods, make sure you connect them with Madeline via this video and all the other resources we shared. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
All right.